this is a great subject for charcoal. I am not going to do it in charcoal because I'm in a very white house right now. I just don't want to risk the damage deposit. So I, again, am going to be starting in, I'm going to be working in pencil, but you know, you guys know, hey, those of you who have charcoal who want to use it, this is really, really great. Nancy picked this one from Unsplash, and what I love about it, Nancy, it's like sort of characteristic you've got a great sense of contrast and also light and dark. And I like the way his face is turning so that we can play around, you know, sort of start to understand a little bit more about perspective. I mean, I'm not going to hit you over the head with it. Nancy was totally walking away when I said that. Nancy, I was just saying,
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I was just complimenting you again on your concepts of light and dark. Like, you picked this photo, and what's really fantastic about it is the light and the darks, and the contrast in the markings, but also the light in this one is really good. So bravo.
Great.
Yeah, it's really great. So observe, of course, that like when I talk about perspective, I really mean that if we were to kind of, you know, run a line down the center of the dog's face, right? This is exactly halfway. And look at how clearly it shows the difference between this side, this half, and this half when we're looking at it from perspective, right? This half, this is almost like an angle. This is the whole side of the face, right? Right? It's almost like an angle, whereas this side kind of comes out like that. Look at the kind of tiny shape of the eye. Here's where that half is. This is what we can see. And I think it's also going to be instructive on how to kind of develop where the nose is, because that's a really hard thing to do, right? To get the nose in the right place. So there's a lot of things about this that are great. If you're working in charcoal, of course, you're going to tone your paper. Let's see here.
I never did get that with the lemur, whatever that was.
Yeah. The lemur.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I was on speaker. I looked back at my lemur and I did not get that angle right.
Really? Well, you can always fix it now, but
Yeah,
start working on this one, and then, like, if you've got time. And I'm going to send pictures of these because I can see it's a little bit dark here. So I'm kind of boxing up this dog, but you can really see that the dog takes up most of the space of the paper, of the subject. So I would encourage you to do that yourself. Yesterday, I had a student who was doing a peacock, and she drew the peacock kind of the same size as everybody else was drawing it, even though her paper was huge. So she had all this space here where there was nothing. And I'm like, why don't you just make your peacock a little bit bigger and fill the space? So I want you to practice here. Hold on. Where are we? There we are. Filling the space, whatever your space is. You're going to want this horizontal. Right? Most of the space. And
we have a picture of him in color.
No, we do not. This is it. I think, having said that, I think this was a black and white. Yep. But Sandra, this is a good opportunity for you to kind of play around with color choices. Maybe place it. What about trying some of your own? I mean, I know, I get it. I'm like, I totally admire.
What is he, a Malamute, or what is he?
I don't know.
This was from a photo stock.
It's
site.
Unsplash. Maybe
All
you
we
can.
have.
He's Unsplash. It's on Unsplash.
That
But
photo
what
is
kind of breed
actually
of dog is he?
better. That there are. It looks like the photo underneath is better.
Yes, I'm going to bring that out.
But what is it? A Malamute? What am I looking
I'm going to
for?
bring that out.
We don't know.
We don't know.
A Malamute or a Husky.
Maybe a husky. But you could also, if you wanted to get really jiggy with it, Sandra, you could also you could also think, Leah, what was I trying to say?
Give it your own
Put in your
color.
own colors. Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know that doesn't sound exciting, but for Diana and I, that's like where we start to get excited. Let's change all the colors around. Let's make this dog pink and green. All right. So if you have, if you're working with charcoal, tone everything, and then with your eraser, kind of block out a box. Put your paper vertical, and then block out a box that mostly fills it up. I'm not going to check these width and height measurements because I feel like if you fill your paper out, most papers out, they will fit these dimensions. I'm going to find the halfway point for the dog. Let's see. So I'm going to find the halfway point here of this line.
So you're doing the whole outline, not anything relative to that face angle right now, right?
We're gonna, well, it is relative to the face angle, but yes, we're starting with the outside because that's gonna help us get all the other things right? Because if we can get the negative shapes right, then it's gonna be easier for us to get everything else right. Yes, but we're starting with the outside. Nope, that's like here. When I find it, I'm going to send it over to you guys. I know it's a little tough. And Diana, I know that the one underneath is slightly better. I'm actually saving it so that we can use that for detail.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that seem logical?
Mhm.
Okay. Did I manage?
Apparently she was staring at her treats when this was taken.
Oh, she has the look.
It's a
you
Canadian
looked it up?
Husky.
Wait,
Yeah,
you
I
found
found
the
a photo.
picture?
Found a photo.
A Canadian Husky. Very nice. Okay. So basically, see, I'm already wrecking it. Okay. So I'm going to suggest that we just quarter this thing at the very beginning. And that means finding the halfway point here and then finding the halfway point here and here. So I'm doing it on the drawing first. Let's see, one, I think that's about here. 1, 2. Yours may, and then may or may not be.
What are you doing, Sunny?
Let me just double check these. Yeah, you know, the easiest thing, yeah, well, yours may or may not be the same height as this. It might be bigger or smaller. But as long as we're kind of sticking to mostly the edges of the paper, it should work pretty well. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to send this over. Because the only thing about being in a White House is that, like, it's really hard to see anything on camera. Here.
So Leah, I'm going to ask the same question.
What's that?
When you're doing halves and quarters, are you doing it of the full page or the dog itself?
The box that I've drawn
Okay,
around the dog.
just around the dog
This
versus,
box that I've drawn around the dog. So if you can see it, it's a little hard to see here, but
yep, got it.
yeah, yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, the box I've done around the dog. And you can see it better on the WhatsApp where I took a picture of it and sent it over. So I'm going to do the same thing, of course, here. I'm going to find my halfway point. You can see I'm doing it this morning just by placing a dot where I think the halfway point is and checking it. You know, I'm keeping my hand straight. Yep. And then that means I can come over here. 1, 2, yep. And I can kind of sketch that across. So you, of course, those of you who are working with your charcoal are going to do this with an eraser, which is nice because the line goes away really easily. I'm going to find the halfway point here. Let's see. I think it's about here. You'll find after you do this for a while that you're going to get better at guessing where the halfway point, but don't feel bad if you don't. You'll notice some days I can do it and some days I really can't. So some days I'm on, some days I'm off, and I do this all the time. So it's a very, you'll find that your visuals spatial skills get a little bit more attuned. I like to think of it as a language, right? The more you use it, the more familiar you are with it, but you'll start to get a sense for where things are on the page. And you do that through practice. And that's just sort of part of learning to draw, is understanding. But at the beginning, it's really hard to tell how big and small things are. And even when you've been drawing a long time, there are areas that are tough, right? They're tough to see. So here's a couple observations as we start. I'm just going to give you the outlines to do it first. Notice that the ears are definitely not the same size. Look at here, I'm going to send this over so you can see it. If I move this over here a little bit, would that make it better? Yeah. Let's look at this for a second. So notice how much space this ear, which is closest to us, takes up. It takes up much of this rectangle. Notice that the ear here on this side really is much smaller and a little bit shorter. So this ear kind of comes up to here, this ear comes here. Notice that the nose comes all the way to the edge and down. If you want to, you can also, it might be helpful to mark the quarter points as well, just to help you. Let's see, I think here. 1, 2. Oh yeah, these quarter points will be helpful. 4. Right, these are quarter points. I can find them going both directions. I can find them here too. No. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So the quarter points will help you. You can see this one on this side. We'll show you where this eye is. You can see that the eyes are they're directly underneath the halfway point. You can see that this top quarter point kind of lines up with the top of the head. You can see that the nose comes down here, and there's a pretty distinctive negative space shape, which is going to be key in getting the angle, as Nancy said, of this outside, right, of this edge. So here, what you want to be focusing on at the very beginning is like this area, right? Think about this space. If you create this space, you will get the angle right on the dot. It's kind of magical, right? Focus on the thing next to the thing, and that's what's going to help you get shapes. Pay attention to this negative space too between the two ears. That will be helpful. Pay attention to where your quarter points are and have them help you locate things. This sounds tedious at the beginning, and then it becomes so amazing as you realize you have all these guides to kind of help you figure things out. There we go. And we'll get the better picture of the dog up once we get the basic pieces in place. But for now, I've just sent off this latest. I'm like, okay, I'm going to find my quarter points too. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So I know when I start here, I'm going to go on this side first. This feels easier to me. Feels easier to me because I can go up. Notice that this dog's ears do not exactly go up into a point. It's kind of a little bit more. So this line is kind of slightly angled. And I can see there's this kind of triangle on this side, negative space. Oh, no, we have to come out further. Also, I did not bring my handy electric eraser with me today, so we'll see how well. Right. If that feels big to you, don't worry about it. It is. I can see the mouth kind of comes below. See how I'm kind of locating shapes that are easier to see. And I'm not necessarily trying to do them one piece at a time. I'm really doing them more in the way of how can I see this? There's a little dark, roughy area up like this. I don't want to get too into that because I'm focusing on the outside. I come over here and I bring my quarter point here. I can see that the nose comes below it. So if I come over here, I can give myself that point. So I'm giving myself the points. And then kind of more of an angle here. And then let's see, here's the quarter point. Here's that angle I was talking about. So just to the left of the quarter point. There's a straight line down for the eye. And then, I got that right. It's a little on the thick side for now, but I'll keep it in for now. I'm really looking at creating this shape here. I know it seems backwards, but welcome to the world of drawing. That's what it is. That's why we do it, because it's kind of fun that way. Let's see, quarter points. If I went straight up here, I'm kind of trying to figure out where to place the ear. If I go straight up from the quarter point, the ear, that second ear kind of comes just past it. I don't think I got that angle right. Maybe. There are some things that'll be easier to tell as you start adding in your inner shapes. Oh, this comes out a little bit. I came out too far. Look at how much erasing I'm doing. I'm doing a lot of erasing. Because I'm observing this ear comes in a little bit. It doesn't quite stick over this edge. This comes out a little bit farther. So there you go. There is, we should not be seeing any eyes yet. We should not be seeing, the eyes are going to be like the third thing we do. So I'd like to see, oops. Let's see. Let's see. 1, 2. Yeah, see, it feels a little skinny to me. Well, no, I think it's okay. Here, hold on. Yeah. I think the nose comes up just a titch. Can you see how big? I show you this. You've got his nose more angled, more pointed in, kind of like this. Right? So it looks a little bit more foxy. Because we can see both the front and the top of the nose, it's a little bit bigger than that. I'm going to take a close-up picture so you guys can really see. That shape is kind of big and boxy. Also, there's a little bit more space between these two, but looking pretty good. In general, this is looking pretty good.
Between which two? The ears?
Yeah, this shape. If you look at yours, you'll see it's kind of skinnier.
Yep.
I mean, listen, It's teeny tiny. I'm not saying, and I think the ear, and you'll see, I made the same mistake too, because you can see my first one. I think the ear on this side doesn't go, you have it kind of over and coming down. It
Yep.
really goes at an angle out like this and scoots in. These feel like minor things, right? I think this is why people don't do this. They're like, why did I do that? I just want to draw those cute dog eyes, right? Just get the ears in. But all of these angles are really important. They show kind of which direction the dog is turned. They show what's closest to us and what's farthest away. Good job, you guys. You're killing it though. Here, let me send this over so you can see it.
I can't
Yes.
share mine because I put the eyes in.
I sometimes have that problem.
Erase it, erase it, erase them,
All right, I'll erase them.
erase them. I don't want to see them yet. You're
I'm
not
getting
ready.
rid of them. They're going.
You'll thank me for this in the morning.
will.
It's really about where your focus needs to be. The eyes are just too appealing. You just want to
They
go.
are.
Trust me, every single person who's ever come to me who's taught themselves how to draw goes straight to the eyes. I'm not saying it's not what everyone wants to do. I'm just saying that as you find yourself kind of hitting the wall of I can't push my skill any farther, it's because the emphasis goes in the wrong place, right? At the wrong time. Here now, we're going to get these bigger dark and light shapes, right? The inner ones. Now is the time. And I'll tell you what, you can do the outside shape. How's that? Does that seem
Yeah.
fair?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can keep that in. Oh, you guys are so funny. I really wish I had charcoal for this. This would be such a fun one to do in charcoal. It's going to be tedious in pencil. But do you understand my point of this? Like why I have you do it? It's because whatever we focus on, we make too big. And then you get kind of vested in the drawing in a way that makes it very difficult to correct. So if you kind of go from this stage to this stage, from the biggest shapes to the bigger inner shapes, then to the detail, you're much more likely to get things in the right places. That's what I really want for you. Let's see. Marcy. Okay.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby. It wasn't.
Marcy, this one comes, look at this shape.
Yep.
This comes down more. Yours is kind of out like this.
You mean the nose shape?
Yeah, I'm looking at the negative space,
Oh, yeah.
which of course is the nose shape, right? If you look at this shape, you will see you need to bring this down a little bit more, and that's going to help you get this shape. Yep. Let's see.
Also, I think it starts too high up on the paper.
Okay. Let me see, Sandra, I'm looking at yours right now.
I'm using this strange plastic, so I'm having to paint.
Oh, I'm so curious. Oh, how cool.
Well,
Hi,
it's easy to wipe
Geraldine.
off.
I got to tell you guys, Sandra is doing all kinds of really fun experiments these days. I'm really appreciating it. Okay, so let's see. Something looks off about the nose, Sandra. I think it's a
Is
little.
it too long?
No, I think it's too skinny. I think so. I think it needs to. So remember, this is like the side and the top of the nose, right? There's the top here and then the front. And so that makes this whole space a little bit bigger. Yours seems to be coming up here,
Okay.
right? So just bring it down more here and out. Just make it boxier and bigger than you think it should be. I'm not even convinced I have mine right. I might have to.
I think
Make
it is
mine.
because it's so much shade underneath, so you don't.
It's hard to see it.
Because
you
of the
can
mustache,
see
right?
it.
You can't really see.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you can see it if you look at the picture I send you.
Yeah.
The picture brightens it up. So look at the picture.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I mean, I'm looking at the original from Unsplash.
And Nancy, this is, look at this edge. This is like a pure boxy edge. There's nothing rounded about it right now. Nothing. This shape isn't there. It's really, see, it's like two angle lines, like two straight lines put together in an angle. So slightly curved at the bottom, but really it's more flat. Okay, so everybody really spend time getting that shape of the nose. Doesn't feel like you should, but the curve is to add a curve now makes it too small. If it makes sense, the front of the nose here, I'm going to just sketch this in so you can see it, is the top of the nose is here, right? And then the front of the nose is down here, and you need room for both of those things. You need room for this and for that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm. It does, but Geraldine, that looks pretty good. Nice work. Jackie, that looks pretty good, but I would say the same thing,
Yes.
just a slight, like, it's thicker. You guys, I don't know if you can really see this, but I had to struggle with this shape a little bit too. And I'm not exactly sure I've got it. And notice the difference. If you get the nose too long or too short, it looks like an entirely different animal. Sandra is often saying, this doesn't look like a lemur, it looks like a, blah, 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 fox or something, or this raccoon looks like a blah, 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 which is what happens when we get, right, the sort of nose, and it's hard. So I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not even saying I necessarily have it right, but I'm looking, and maybe I might thin this out a little bit. I might have exaggerated it a little bit too much. We'll see. But it's more on this shape and size of things than elsewhere. And then I'm going to put in this sort of outer dark shape of the eye here. And the nose kind of comes in. Actually, I'm going to put in the top of the head first. That's going to be easier.
Where are
Observe.
you, Leah?
What's
are
that?
you?
I'm in
Where are
Seattle.
Oh,
I'm in Seattle. One of my oldest friends' son is getting married. And as I was telling people yesterday, it's not even like he's young, he's like 30 or something now. I'm having a really hard time with this. I'm like, I remember this kid being born. So we're here for,
isn't that fun when you
it's amazing. It's amazing. We're very excited about it. It's like a really great, it's totally fun. And it's been a lot of, for some reason, we've had a lot of traveling, lots of weddings. Have you guys had weddings? I feel like it's been
But I don't like weddings.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. Diana's been working on her own weddings and then her parents' wedding.
Yep, we have a wedding coming up, going to France for it.
Really? Oh,
That sounds
great.
good. Where
Where
is
in
that?
It
France?
was pretty bold of them in the midst of COVID, sending out, save the date and all that stuff for.
Everybody was like, oh, come on. That's awesome.
So where in France are you going?
The wedding's in a chateau outside Bordeaux, but we're going to go to
Heavens.
Paris for about 5 days and then travel around the Dordogne, and finally going to get to see the caves at Lascaux, or at least the facsimile of them.
When is this gonna happen?
In 3 weeks.
Oh my
Wow.
God, congratulations. How wonderful.
Very excited.
That sounds lovely.
It sounds really great. Notice I'm kind of fiddling around trying to get this shape right. I'm not sure. I actually like working with pencil because you all can see all my mistakes and hopefully learn from them. There we go. Here's Sunny with her toy.
So that's Sunny
Playing with her toy.
I'll turn up the sound.
Trying to get a little bit of attention
Yes.
to her from her
They're kind
mom.
of boring.
Yeah.
Leah, I sent you my picture. I
Let's
think, I
see.
think the nose is still a bit off.
Yeah, you'll do more correcting as you start to add in.
Okay.
Now I think this needs to come in. Can you see there's a little bit more space here. So now I think you need to bring it in a little bit more. So it's a little bit wider. It's not quite hugging. You see, like when you do this, this needs to come back to the right. Yours is here.
Oh, so move it. to
So
the
that
right.
makes it needs to come a little bit to the right so that this is long enough. Yes, welcome to the world of drawing. Nancy, much better. There we go. Perfect.
Didn't make sense, but I just copied you.
Yeah, and it looks better, right? I love that. It doesn't make sense, but I'm gonna do it anyway. That's how I felt a lot about drawing, is particularly when I was first starting out. I don't think this is right, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So as I'm trying to shape out this nose, I can see that there's this dark shape here and then kind of a medium shape, which is the kind of marking next to the eye. On this size, it looks like this, and you need room for both those things. So if the dark eye and this medium shape can't come in, then you've got to, this is kind of where the center bone of the skull comes. That's why I said you'll start to figure things out. Okay, so Jackie, Julia, lovely. All right, I see Marie's influence right there. I see it. So this is where it will be helpful to have the eye, the outside shape of the eye sketched in, because it's going to help you get these other shapes kind of in place. So I'm like, can I make it too big? So it's, to me, it's like this kind of curved line from here to here, and then a straight line, and then angle line up and angle line down. So this is everything. This is the marking around the face. And then I can get this funny little squash box shape in. Yeah, Nancy, I still to this day feel like half the time I'm like, I cannot even think about what I'm drawing. Otherwise it messes up. I just can't get things in the right places. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus on this little funny squash box shape right now. Now I'm going to come down here. Did I get that right? I'm not going to worry about this stuff yet. Maybe a little bit of dark here just to kind of get that upper mouth shape. But if you just, I feel like drawing is this constant, yeah, well, that wasn't what I thought it was. That wasn't where I thought it was. Like, oh my God. Which is kind of what's fun about it, to be honest. I learned a lot of drawing when I was traveling and living abroad. And I'm ashamed to say that although I learned a bit of the language in every country I lived in, I learned how to speak just a bit so I could get around in markets and stuff. I never really learned how to speak another language conversantly. And I always use the excuse that I was learning the language of drawing. I think it's kind of bullshit now. Which I learned more of the language. It was really hard for me. But when I was learning a lot of my drawing, I wasn't living in the US. And I felt like my whole being was focused on this endeavor of learning this language, which is a shape and a value-based language and a translation, right? Because shapes are different when you're trying to create the illusions of 3 dimensions on a flat surface. You have to change the shapes. They're different on the flat surface than they are in real life. The simple example of that is, here, I'll put that there so you can see it. The simple example of that, of course, is this, right? We know that this road isn't actually smaller here than it is here. And we know that this road doesn't rise up off the ground. It's flat on the ground. It's the same size every like, but to show it going away from us on paper, we have to change the shapes and do different things than we're used to. So that's like the simple thing. Another one is the cube, right? We know that this shape and this shape and this shape are the same size. We know that this is sitting flat on a table, but we also know that as things go away from us, they appear to angle up. So if I'm going to create that illusion on a flat surface, I have to angle up anything that's moving away from me. It's that kind of thing, right? That's the language that we're learning. You got to learn how much space things take up. The other thing I find is that like, there's a kind of left brain privileging that's happening that needs to be stopped. That's why I make you stop doing the eyes, because we privilege the eyes since we look at them so much, and then we make them too big, right? We ignore the ears and other things because they're not things that we look at. And so that also changes things. I don't know. That's like my riff for today. Julia, I'm glad you're doing that. I know you miss it. I miss it too. We'll get her back. Yeah. But I have to say let's see. What do you call it? The Procreate classes have a great crew too, and they're really fun. I love it, the same people. It's really neat.
But we want Marie.
I know. Let's see. Jackie.
Fun isn't the right word. It's super frustrating, but it's useful.
Okay, so Jackie, one of the things I'm going to show you, 1, 2, 3. If you go from the top and bottom of the eye and you come down to this white part, it should be 1/3
Of the half.
of the from here to the end of the white.
Oh, okay.
1, 2, 3. Can you see that? So you'll see your eyes a little too small.
Yep.
Also your nose. Yes, but it's coming. It's coming. I mean, this angle we're going to play with. We're going to fiddle with a lot as we start to get through things. But I think getting these bigger pieces in shape and in place really helps. And I may be a little bit over exaggerating. So I'm like,
Oh, is mine okay, Leo?
let me see. Sorry. Okay. There's a little bit too much on this side. He's poking out a little bit much. Bring him in a little bit more. And you can
Isn't
make
that
that.
maybe because I put the nose line in the wrong place? Because
Yeah,
that
the
part
nose
is lined
yeah,
up with the ear.
perhaps. Yep, perhaps the nose line should come up. Yes, because the nose line should come up here and angle up. But in general, I mean, it doesn't exactly look like him. 1, 2, 3. If you brought that nose line up here, then it would be better. Yeah. How do you like working with that stuff? Is it weird?
I don't know. Well, it's good because I'm having to paint, but I can erase. I just wipe with a paper towel.
Oh, how nice. Well, that's
But,
fantastic.
I don't know how that's going to translate when I actually
Right.
paint.
Right,
That
exactly.
you're working with?
She's working.
cold. It's a
Yeah, can you
plastic
tell him,
film.
Sandra, what you're working with?
It's this
working with
thing.
I can't see that because.
Hold on.
Yes.
Hold on. I'll
I
add
don't
this.
even know what it's called.
Isn't it called?
It's a polyester. It's an archival polyester film that some people paint on. This is the wet media version. The other one you can use supposedly a charcoal on and so on.
So this is something that architects used to use when they made
That's right.
drawings
It's
by hand.
actually the drawing film.
So if you remember, when an architect would draw by hand, they might get through an entire building and then find they'd have to fix one thing. So instead of having to redraw the entire building, they put this film on top, trace it over and then make the corrections so that they didn't have to keep doing the work over and over again. And a lot of artists are using it as parts, to build. Anyway, I'm curious.
I came across it. So a lot of people, I'll send you the photo that kind of sparked my interest. A lot of people who are using this are people who use colored pencils, which I myself are not that interested in, but it allows you to do amazing animal fur details. Let me send this to the thread. I was like blown away by this.
Yeah, sorry, here.
Not that I'd want to
Do
spend
that,
as
right.
many hours as it must have taken to do that, but
It's beautiful.
it allows. So then there's some people, some artists who are really into this, and there's some YouTube videos. And so I was just curious. And since it's not that expensive, I decided to try it. I don't think long term it's my thing, but
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right. I see this. Hey, Jackie, that's coming along. Yeah, by the way, guys, share what you're doing. This is really fun.
Yeah, I shared where I'm at too.
This is looking great, Diana. But I've been happy with this one from the beginning. So I think the beginning was great. So
Yeah, this one takes its sweet little time. Oh, Osiris. Oh,
no,
there's
I'm getting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to train everybody into where they need to go to get this.
Weird.
So, of course, once you've got these shapes, I don't know if I've sent this across. Let's see, did I? Oh, these are really great, you guys. I'm so pleased. Where are all the lovely, is that Sandra, is that you, the birds?
Oh yes, the
sweetie?
birds, yeah.
They're sounding happy. So here's my outline.
Cats are inside.
Now I can kind of come in here. I might have made this a little too big, so I may I can start getting the light and dark shapes right within. And I'll get back, by the way, to using charcoal. I'd love to take this class maybe in July to ink, if you guys would be so inclined and want to do it. It's a pretty neat.
Yes, why wait till October?
Yeah. Why wait till Inktober, right? Let's try it now. And if we like it, we'll play with that for a while. Only if you want to.
Do we
Of
need
course,
anything but black ink for that?
no, yeah. I mean, although if you want to get colored inks, they're really fun. Like I have some blue one and an orange one that I use sometimes, but yeah, just basic Higgins. Higgins is a great you want waterproof ink,
Yeah.
so that you can treat it afterwards. You can, fix it and do all kinds of things to it.
Yeah.
Can you guys see how I'm getting in here to get those shapes of the eye? And when everybody's feeling comfortable, I'll move us to the unmarked drawing. I just want to make sure you all get, except that, I'm sorry, I got a little bit of blue on here, but I'll be able to put this here and you'll be able to see all those details better once we get things in the right places. Then, of course, it becomes, let's get the darkest areas first. as always. God, now I'm thinking about Paris. One of my favorite cities. Sandra, are you a fan or are you like just
Well,
kind of,
I think it's beautiful like a film set. And
yeah.
it's particularly nice in August when the Parisians are gone.
The, you know, the New Yorkers say the same
They're
thing.
not nice people.
You turn on higher.
What's that?
But it's a beautiful city.
I've heard all of those things. And of course, I've spent a fair amount of time there checking out the art. And I think you're right. But New Yorkers say the same thing. They say, whoops, I think I made this too big.
I think New Yorkers have got
They-
suffers from same thing, but they are probably a bit more human and civil.
They're nice. So you think Parisians are judgy?
They're very arrogant
Yeah.
and unpleasant. And unfortunately, those people are particularly the people you're going to deal with, the taxi drivers.
Right. Oh,
I'm
nice.
hoping Uber changed that. They're like the small shop owners, this sort of thing. Just very rude.
I got you. All right.
My first experience was as a 10-year-old. We were staying in a hotel near the Champs-Élysées. My mother was hiring, and we had Persian cats with us. And my mother always believed that you should feed raw meat to the cats.
Right.
So she sent me to the butcher. And it's been a strange butcher, right? It's a butcher near the Champs-Élysées. So and
Yeah, right.
And I asked for the cut of meat that my mother told me. And he looked at me from up high and said, oh, of course, that's what you call that cut of meat in the South. And I felt like telling him, like, fuck you, it's for the cat.
They're up their own asses.
But
I
I didn't want to tell him it's for the cat because then he would give me a bad piece.
Right.
But I thought it was so unpleasant.
Yes.
And what did it matter?
Right.
What do you call it?
Beautiful.
That sort of thing, that was like my first introduction to
Right. Okay.
arrogant, snotty.
It's snotty
And this is from
people.
a butcher.
Yeah, a
I mean,
butcher.
what has he got
right,
to be
a
snotty
butcher.
about?
Exactly. All right, you guys, I just sent you a picture of the dog nose because I think a bunch of you are missing this kind of top versus front to try and get those shapes. So up here is, here, I'm just going to push it forward. Julia, that's looking great. Here is this. Here is my sketch of the dog nose. So I want you to see, some of you are like kind of ending your thing here. You're kind of forgetting about this top part. It's like the cube, right? There's a side and there's a top. So think about it like that. There's a side and a top. So the top's kind of going to the side and up like this. And that's why this nose is so big, because we're seeing both the top, because the nose is coming towards us, but also we're seeing the top and the front, right? They're different shapes, different angles. So don't forget that as you're kind of coming through. And now, of course, you can get your darks in. That means you can get in and work on your eyes as much as you want. There you go, Jackie. Go for it. Julia, did you just use an alcohol wash on there? Is that why? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. So see how now I can start to get those dark and light shapes in. We'll talk about, you guys who are working in charcoal are going to have a much easier time than those of us working in pencil to try and create that sort of furry texture, right? This is kind of a medium shape, but just make sure that this is kind of a medium versus this dark. And this is mostly pretty dark, but maybe make this top bit slightly lighter then what's happening down here to indicate there's a top and a side. What I'm trying to teach you, it's not that drawing isn't obsessive, because it is. What I'm trying to teach you is what to obsess about when. We had a long and interesting talk about this yesterday, right? Where we were talking about this idea of like, and notice I'm with my pencil, I'm using my fingers sometimes to create kind of softer marks, just a little bit. And there are different ways of kind of approaching this idea. I am more of the belief that, hey, get into the drawing, then, you know, do the easy parts first before you get into the difficult parts. You know, other people are more like, no, I want to start problem solving the difficult things first. So however you decide you want to do it, you still want to be kind of giving yourself, to me, I'm like, I'm going to deal with getting these bigger shapes in before I start to deal with these smaller, tougher areas, right? Where it might be a little bit darker here. And we'll talk about how to do that. But I want to lay in my bigger pieces first to see how much work do I actually have to do. Sandra, can you post your peacock from yesterday?
Oh,
When you
it's
get a
not finished
chance.
though.
Okay, but can you show them where it is? Because I
Sure.
really thought it left at a really great. So we were painting a peacock yesterday. I'll show you guys. Oh, Geraldine, perfect. You got it. Yeah, girl, just go. It's like you've never even been gone. You might bring his ear down just a titch on this side, right? Because there's a little bit, you have his ear almost up to the top here, and there's a little bit.
Can I just show it like that?
Yeah, hold it up. Hold on. So we had a painting in which, hold on.
Oh,
Isn't that fucking great?
Beautiful.
I know. So, Sandra, tell them what the first thing you said was when you looked
Oh,
at this
but it was going to
painting.
be so hard because of these bits and those bits.
And the
thought
feathers
it
in
was
the
gonna be
back, there was a lot of
Possible.
feathers in the
All
back.
this.
And I
All this.
said, and my point to her was, let's just focus on the front and then see how much work we need to do to get to the back, right? Like that is an actual, and then by the time, listen, she's like, I really love it. It's beautiful. So it's kind of like, it's not that you're not going to stress out about areas, but it's what to stress out about when, is where I'm trying to like, and my experience with a lot of this stuff is, if I'm thinking about like the fur texture between the light and the dark areas, now, you know, immediately, it kind of blocks me from working on the easier pieces. So I start by laying out kind of loosely and a little bit more blocky, the light and the darks. And then I start working with, then I'm going to start working with, you know, working on these edges, right? How do I show this kind of fur texture here and here and here and in here and down here? And the, you know, so it's like, I'm trying to do the bigger shapes first, and then I see how much does this painting need? And you'll often find that like, sometimes the painting or the drawing needs less than you think it does in those detailed areas. Sometimes we don't need so much detail. Sometimes you do, and you're stuck doing it. It kind of sucks that way. But you can see I'm kind of like, so this is the thought process I'm wanting you to kind of engage in. Oh, I have to deal with that, but I'm not going to necessarily deal with that right now. I'm going to deal with getting in all these darks. Right here, the bigger shaped darks. And in fact, it's like super dark down here. It's so dark. I'm going to add in that dark. So that when I start to go work on more details, I already have a kind of blocked in piece of the figure. And that's my sort of philosophy on it. I believe this is the philosophy of most artists. They may not put it to you in those words, but this is the way, if this is the way you keep from going crazy, really.
Whereas I was
imagine-
looking at it and think that's too hard, I'm not going to do it.
Yes, that's my point. Yes, right? Like that's my point. And you stop experimenting and you stop like we're problem solving. That's what I like to think about it as. And I mean, you know, here I've set myself up today because I'm using the tool I least like, and I don't have a damn eraser. So I'm like, you're gonna watch me like fuck around a lot. trying to
You don't
figure
have any
out-
eraser?
I forgot to grab my electric eraser and either of my
No. Oh, but you don't
pencils
have-
have erasers on them.
I thought you just didn't have your magic eraser, but you had
I don't
another
have,
one.
well, you know, I usually do, but I threw everything into a bag. I was teaching, I left on Thursday night right after my portrait class. So I thought I threw everything in, but I did not throw in any erasers. Isn't that funny? And I didn't even really notice it yesterday because yesterday we were painting, so I wasn't really paying attention to it. So I've now set myself up for the worst for me. I can't erase anything. I may or may not succeed. I'm not even sure I'll succeed, but I want to show you this to just encourage you in like, okay, this is all problem solving. It's like using what you've got. It's remembering to pack your electric eraser and lots of batteries. I don't know, like it's just so but I'm choosing not to worry about it until later. And I also think it's good for you guys to see me struggle a bit. These are looking really good. I think it's helpful because you can see that this is not really easy for anyone. And right now I'm at a point where I'm like, oh, damn, now I have to start dealing with this. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. Oh, hey, Osiris, that looks good. His nose is too pointy and short. Look at how boxy the nose is. So work on the nose shape. Here, it's a little hard to see. I'm going to send it over again so you can really see the shape of the nose. It's not this shape, right? It's not that shape. It's like twice that size. Also, your ears are not they're not the same size. This one is bigger and this one's smaller. I'm glad you made it in. I'm glad you're here. So this one is a little bit shorter. This one's a little bit taller. Oh, I can't. Well, then just do the best you can. Here we go. Here, I'll send over. Use this image. Okay. Is anybody ready? And I'm almost feeling like this might be the moment. I'm going to give you the better copy, but now I think it's time for us to work upside down.
Yeah, I'm going to send
put
it to you. It's weird and it's very hard.
this technique that you're
Yeah,
using?
yeah,
Yeah. That's okay. We're just playing around, right? Let's see.
yeah. We're just playing around. I think the shape there is.
Yeah, it's let's see. I'm looking here. I've laid it down. Yeah, guys, these are coming along.
Yeah,
Marcy,
I can't get his eye. Oh, sorry, when it's my turn, I can't get his eye looking the right direction.
you need more dark. So do you see how yours is a very thin dark, oops, okay, hang on, here, let me. Do you see how yours is a very, this needs to be bigger. This dark shape needs to be bigger. And this this iris needs to be pushed up into the dark shape above, into the eye line above. So just really, then you'll see it. And Marcy, I'd say the same thing. It's coming along. So look at, and Sandra, I was just looking at yours. Um,
You need more dark and the iris has to be pushed up into the dark.
yeah. I'm just looking, Sandra. Maybe Sandra, if you bring the dark in a little bit further down here.
Oh, you're looking at it upside down.
I'm looking at it upside
Yes,
down.
I'm
So look
doing
at
that
that
as well.
shape.
I'm
So
doing that
try
because
that.
it looks wrong.
I don't think it's absolutely, I don't know. I don't think it's, I think it's, and get a little bit darker. Well, anyway, I think you're on the right track. So don't despair. If you bring that in down here, isn't that interesting? This is the thing. This is the shape that will help you with the other shapes. And since, as I was just starting to tell you guys, wait, have I looked at everybody's? Okay, Nancy and Marcy, yep, you're both
You
coming
know
along.
what?
What?
Leah, there's a line underneath the bottom of the chin, just underneath the chin, where the lowest part of the chin. And I thought it was the body, but it might be shadow.
It might just be shut. Yes, are you talking about right here?
Yeah, so I
Yeah,
did that, but
so-
in fact, we don't want that to be.
Yeah. So Jackie, I'm going to tell you, this is looking great, but I'm going to tell you the same thing. Let's look at it upside down.
I'm upside down.
So see how you're doing. So I want you to really see this shape. Here is the shape. Top, bottom.
Mhm.
What's the problem with yours?
Well, the problem is I'm having trouble seeing the difference between.
Here, hold on. I'm going to send it upside down so you can really
thank you.
see it. I'm going to send it upside down so you can really, yeah, it's hard to see.
Yeah.
But you can see even without seeing the outlines that you don't have enough dark here.
There's not
So
enough.
his nose is, yeah, there's not enough nose. So he's looking more pointy like a fox.
Oh, yeah.
Do you see my point?
Yep,
So here it is. I'm going to send it to you again. And it's upside down so you can really see it. There's that shape.
Oh,
I mean,
thank
otherwise, I think he's looking in pretty good shape.
you. Okay, I see. Yep.
Mhm. So as I was starting to mention, I'm now getting to the hard parts of this drawing with the tool I don't like. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go make myself another cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
That sounds like a great idea.
That is also a strategy that works. So one of the things you'll notice as I'm starting to get into the details, these kind of fur textures. Yeah, this is totally wrong. I got this shape just totally wrong. I'm just going to do the best I can with my crappy little eraser, little bit of eraser. Is I'm doing what artists call working edges. So I'm going to places where there are two types of edges, right? There are these kind of soft, scrabbly edges, right? Where you can see white kind of, and then there's hard edges, like say this one here or this one here, where there's a distinct difference between what's happening. There's a distinct line separating the ear from the background. But a lot of this dog is like, you can see there's like white coming into the dark. So the sort of strategy for dealing with this is to work on the edges where light meets dark first, right? As best as you can. So I'm looking here and I'm seeing that it's a bit darker here and that also it's a little bit scruffy, right? Which is indicating some light coming in. So you can do this with your pencil or your charcoal. You can do this with your eraser, where you're starting to add just a little bit of detail. And then I can see kind of coming out from here, there's a little bit more. I'm not trying to draw every hair, but I'm trying to draw where the dark, I'm trying to like sort of look at the edge where light and dark meet. And that's where I'm focusing my energy. It's going to be only moderately successful because I do not have an eraser, so I can't get things lighter than they need, as light as they need to be. You should feel very fortunate right now. You all have erasers, so you should be feeling kind of good. Look, here's a pretty hard edge, right? So down here. And then actually you can see, and so you can start going around and working these edges, creating sort of soft and hard. I'm not trying to draw every fur, and I'm also not creating a repeating pattern that's not there. I'm not doing, what am I not doing, Sandra? I'm not doing the little
Trees.
soldiers, right? I'm not doing my little soldiers all in a row. So there's this tendency to want to do this when you see fur. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You know what I mean? To just keep doing the same thing over and over again. I'm actually trying to look at the patterns, how things sweep this way, that way. Right, it gets a little bit lighter here. I can see that here it's darker. Here it's lighter. Here it's a little bit darker. Here it's a little bit lighter. That there's this kind of light patch. So as I'm dealing with, and then up here, it's like, I can see these kind of light areas kind of brushing up into this dark area. Now, the tendency also, and I want to talk you out of, see if I can talk you out of this, is to basically try and sprinkle these dark areas into light, but it never works that way. There's actually a lot more dark than you think kind of happening. So it's better to like kind of darken an entire, particularly if you're working in charcoal, but true in pencil as well, or any material, just to darken an area a lot more and then kind of pull in your lights, which I could totally do if I had an eraser, but I don't. So, but you want to add your lights. I think we learned this with the lemur a bit last week, that you want to add your lights, you want to sprinkle your lights into your dark rather than sprinkling your darks into your lights.
Say that again,
So,
sprinkle your lights into your darks.
Darks rather than sprinkle your darks into your the lights into the darks into the light area, because that looks like this. Here, let me see if I can do it. I'm just looking for an area I can really do it. So if I do, just looking for an area where this might be convenient. If you see how I'm kind of putting my darks in like that, I'm sprinkling them into my light area. And you see how it doesn't really, it kind of looks flat.
Yes.
It's because there's a lot more dark. The lights kind of sit on top of the darks. So there's a lot more dark than you think. So it's better to kind of darken. If I had charcoal, I would probably make this all about this value and then go in with my eraser and start pulling out the darks with my eraser. So I can't really do that because I don't, because I've tormented myself today with this ridiculous task. I'm going to still try. There's a tiny little bit of eraser. Maybe I can pull it out. I should give it. Let's see. I bit the edge to see if I can get it to. Oh, there we go. There's a little bit in there. Right. But so really what we're working on are dark and light edges. So down here, I'm kind of, see, I'm looking at this dark edge. I'm also, even though this is super light, it's not like one light number, as in one in value. It's more like a 2. So I'm actually going to drift a little bit. I'm going to try and get a little bit of tone in here. And where I'm going to really focus on that dark light divide is where the dark kind of meets the 2. So the 5 isn't meeting a 1 down here because this area is in shadow, it's meeting a 2. I can also see there's this kind of swirling pattern that comes up. So I'm kind of trying to imitate that with my pen. I mean, I won't lie. I won't say this isn't tedious, but it's a practical kind of tedious. I'm going to kind of work this way. And remember this, I'm not trying to draw fur here. I'm really trying to tone this area into kind of a 2. And then really work on the shaping with the dark kind of coming in. So you see how that starts to, so that's my best advice to you. It's still going to be tedious. It's going to take a long time. And you will get very lost in the details. Hopefully you're not even really thinking about what you're doing, right? I think I'm gonna sketch in, I'm gonna make it kind of 2 here. And up here, I can see that as the dark comes in, it's really kind of going this direction. So I'm sort of paying attention to fur direction on this top layer. We'll see. We'll just see how far it goes. There's a little bit. If I had an eraser, this would be a lot easier. And my arm hurts, so I'm going to take a little break. Drink a little bit more coffee. I'm going to send you a picture of where he's at, where my guy is at, so you guys can really see him. And also, I'm going to send a picture of this upside down so you can see the lighter. Here, hold on, I'm just going to remove it. I'm going to put it here for a minute. I want you to be able to see. There we go. Because I know this source is a little hard to see because of the light today. Yeah. Tomorrow there is another Procreate class. Emma has found some more cool tools she wants to show you. So we have
these cool tools are what makes it very difficult.
But our whole point is to, that's why we picked a very easy subject.
Okay.
So the whole point is to introduce you to as many tools as possible so that when you go off and do Procreate on your own.
But shouldn't we master the basics first?
No, you
Rather
should be
than
mastering them.
viewing and stuff like that.
I mean, I think you should be doing all of it. I think this is one of those things you don't get it. This is not a class that hangs around forever. So she's going to try and pack in as much as she can. You can look at the video to re-practice things. You guys can practice more. She wants to get as much. Of course, she's going to continually review the basics. You have to, right? Because
Sorry, can you say more about what this is? I don't really know what this is.
What's Procreate?
Yeah.
Procreate is an Apple. Do you work with an iPad or do you work with Apple products, or do you work with?
Well, I have a MacBook, but I don't have an iPad. I've never drawn with it, but.
So Procreate is the most common, the sort of most well-loved tool to be able to draw and paint digitally. And it is massively, it's used a lot by artists and art professionals and graphic designers and all of that to be able to create kind of professional drawings, but it's, it's a tough program to use. There's a lot of different elements to figuring it out.
There's a steep learning curve.
There's a steep learning curve, but I have a student, a former student who's now a teacher, who has been using it for many years. She's 20, she's been using it since she was 12, and she knows it really well. So she's been offering a series of classes on how to use it.
Oh, that's
Yeah, no, that she's doing, and it's really great. So those are on Sundays at noon your time, 9 o'clock a.m. my time. Geraldine, 10 o'clock a.m. your time, I think. Julia, let's see, 5:30, I think. Anyway, sorry, I can't, you'd have to look to see exactly what time it is, your time, but it's a great class, and she's doing it for 3 months. So she's trying to introduce as many different tools as she can so that you guys can, just really know all the things that Procreate can do. David Hockney did his latest show. He's 90 now, 90s. He did his latest show. It was all iPad drawings. David Hockney's kind of famous for using everything. I mean, that is why he is one of our great living masters. He works in every medium. He moves back and forth between realism and, not realism. He's a very, very diverse painter, and he not only designed all these paintings, painted all these paintings on his iPad, he then printed them like 90 feet. So they would take up giant like museum walls. So anyway, Emma's teaching that class. If you've got Procreate and you've got a iPad or a MacBook or something that it's on it, they're great classes to take. We've got 3 more with Emma. There'll be 1 next week. There'll be 2 in June. And then in July, we'll be starting printmaking at home with my friend Lotto Pochkla. So, oh, Marcy, that's looking great. I love how you've used your whites to really do some significant shaping. So now you need to just go in and get those darks dark enough, right? But I like how you've used your eraser there. Very, very effective.
So what happens with this class next? Are we almost done with this 10 sessions or?
No, this just goes on. I'm just going to keep showing you different. We'll go on and on and on for years.
I like to hear that.
On and on.
on and on and on and on. I am going to say that I don't think this is a beginning drawing class anymore. Although in January, I will always review the basics again. So I'll go back to simple shapes and all of that stuff. But I'm going to be bringing in some new beginning drawing classes for people who are really at the beginning stages. I wouldn't call any of you beginners anymore.
So what do we tell beginners if there are anyone that wants to?
I mean, you can tell them they can try this class, but there will be other classes that are labeled beginning drawing that they can take. So I'm just trying to figure out when to schedule them. So it just depends. But yes, I mean, listen, I'm trying to make these classes available for anybody at any level. But the truth is, at some point, if y'all take enough of them, you kind of, the class kind of graduates and moves on.
Otherwise,
So
it's frustrating if we start at the beginning of the time.
yeah, but it is very useful to review in my experience, what I've found is it's very useful to review the beginning skills. And to go back. So I don't think this class, but it's possible I might take you guys into portraits and figure drawing, but that wouldn't be until next year. If this sort of same cohort stayed together, that may be where we'd go. But for the moment, I just like the idea of having a class with subjects that are manageable. We'll go between pencil and charcoal and ink. But you can kind of use, Diana, the other thing is I tell people anyone can use any material they want in any class. In a painting class, we can have people who just want to draw. So, and I'm trying to set up subjects where you could just draw, right? And as Sandra learns, she's often just tweaking her medium, she's tweaking whatever we're doing to work with her medium of choice. So I'm trying to make it kind of open-ended, but yeah, this class, that's a long way of saying, Nancy, this class is going to go on forever as a drawing class, and what we call it will adapt as you guys do.
Yeah, I'm sending you this. I switched to gouache because it's watercolor. It's annoying.
Oh, Sandra.
It's interesting, isn't it?
I love it. How are you liking that paper? I like I like how the marks look on it.
So it's good because you can delete, right, with just a paper towel. I'm trying to find something thinner to use, like a Q-tip. doesn't give you a texture, but watercolor paper does.
I love the
Thick wash is
textures,
better.
but it's funny. I like your textures between dark and light. I like what's happening kind of right here. This is nice. I like these kind of soft. Look at how Sandra has provided. If you look on here, you'll see with brush strokes, the beginning of dark, medium, and light. I like how you gave him a little bit of a blue in his eye. Because that's Malamutes, I'm assuming. Actually,
It's a
I kind of
husky.
like this, a husky, right? Nancy, that's looking fantastic. And look at your fur texture. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Just keep on working on darkening the darks, mediums, and light, right? Extending your mediums and your lights. But are you happy with this one? Does it?
Yeah, his chin's not right, but I'm going to work on that. But
Yeah, it's hard to see the chin. That's why it's a little bit of a lost edge. So if you look down here, you'll see it's hard to tell
yeah,
where the shadow. So this is a lost edge. So a lost edge means there's a shadow across two areas and you can't really see the edge between them. So the idea is maybe just to darken that edge. So maybe
Okay.
just darken it under here.
Okay.
And darken it here, but this is, look at, I mean, really nice.
thank
I
you.
love your directionals of your fur. I like all of these. These are really coming along. I'm proud of you guys. That's really great. I don't know how else. You know, they come together as they come together. There's this kind of aha moment where you're like, you're so busy kind of focusing on this detail and that detail. And then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, holy hell, look, it's done.
I
Look
know,
at
it
that.
became a dog.
It became a dog. How
Right
did
at
that
me.
happen? And I still have these moments in where I look at some things I've done and go, wow, how did I do that? How did I do that? That happened. How
I
did that
still
happen?
feel like that. I still feel like that, just that I can draw anything, because
It's
that's-
thrilling.
I never, ever, ever thought I could draw.
And the sad thing is everyone can, I think.
I
mean,
know.
if you can handwrite, you can draw, right? If you can do
It takes a lot of
cursive.
patience, you know.
Well, and it needs to be taught just like anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. I feel like there's a lot of sadness, a kind of secret sadness that adults have that they cannot draw. And I like to think of that, and maybe a little frustration too. And I like to think of that as akin to, I really think of drawing like reading or writing. I think it's a skill. It develops your brain in a certain way. And nobody expects to be able to read or write immediately, right?
No.
Or even intuitively. You need to be taught to do that, right? You need to be taught how to do those things. It takes years. Because we do it in our young lives, we kind of forget how difficult it is. And then we move on. But somehow we don't teach drawing in the same way. So I just imagine your life if you couldn't read or you couldn't write. Your world would be so much smaller. You would be taking in so much less information, and you'd probably have this level of frustration that's really high because your brain wants to go there, but it needs to be trained, right?
Yeah.
That's
And it's so funny with people because it's like, I can't draw.
yeah,
And I say, well, I can't speak Spanish.
right.
You know, You have to practice.
You have to practice. You have to decide it's worth it for you. It's a fascinating it's just a brain skill. And like any other skill, like learning to write or learning to read, it opens up your whole world. You know, it makes things available to you, information. It makes things available to you that are so exciting, right? That weren't available to you before. It gets your brain like functioning in a different way. It is, or it's like learning a language, right? It's of that level of thing. And I wish people, so I feel like the frustration people have is they want to do it, but they don't think they can.
And they don't want to put in the work.
Well, they don't understand they have to, right? Oh, Jackie, that's looking lovely. So I love the eyes. I'm liking the texture. I think if you get, oops, stop it. Jackie, I think if you get darker down here and you incorporate that lost edge in, this is going to feel a little bit more less chopped off, right? Part of the problem is, so really work this triangle of dark.
I wonder if I should move into, because I've got an HB, I wonder if I should grab a 2B or a 4B.
Yeah, grab a 2B, for that. That's a great idea. Don't go too high in the Bs. You can even just get a B, a 2B or a B to like go a little bit darker.
See what I got.
Absolutely. I would if I was in my studio, but I'm not. Yeah.
What else do you have planned for your weekend, Leah?
We have a wedding. We're going out to dinner with some friends tonight and a wedding on Sunday. And then, just visiting but I grew up in Seattle. Seattle is where I was raised. So
what part of Seattle?
Do you know sort of Madison Park, Washington Park area? I went to
lived in
Garfield
Seattle for 20 years.
You're kidding. When?
No.
When?
When? From like 87 to 2007.
Oh, wow. Where did you live?
All over, but ultimately in Ballard. I had a house
Ballard
in
is
Ballard.
so
I know. I guess
great.
Ballard's become super, super cool. My ex-husband probably made out like a bandit because the train stop got put in there. And
Oh my God, Nancy, you
And
wouldn't
now
recognize
Ballard's
this
so
place.
cool. I know.
You would not
That's okay.
recognize this
I
place.
have no regrets. I'm happy with my life here.
Mhm. Yes, it's a wonderful, and I kind of feel like you wound up in a place that's a lot. I feel like the part of Jersey you're in reminds me in some ways of Seattle and Portland. It has some similarities in the sort of mentality and the houses and the way the neighborhoods are kind of organized. And
Well, I'm in a very different place than Janet. So
oh, where are you?
we're in you wouldn't really have heard of it, but it's outside Morristown. It's a very rural area.
Oh, that's even nicer.
We're
Wow.
a little bit like fish out of water politically here. So
Oh, got it.
not exactly what
Oops.
you're envisioning.
Not Maplewood, Orange,
Nope.
South Orange, that kind of thing. Got it. Okay.
But
But
anyway, so
but beautiful.
Seattle. So what else are you doing? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what else are you doing for your birthday weekend?
Oh, just seeing people and
Nice.
I decided I wanted my actual birthday to be about as much as service as possible. So I'm like just looking around for volunteer things and
Which day is your actual birthday, Leah?
Monday.
1730.
Monday.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes. I kind of like to use that day as a planning day for like how I want to, intentionally, what are the things I want to put out in the world? Unless it's one of the big decades, like a 5 or a 10, like 55. Like it's maybe next year we'll have a bigger party because I'll be 55. But like on most of them, I try to figure out like, okay, how do I orient myself? And boy, this is the week to think about that, right?
Right.
How do you think about, I don't know, stopping everything, stopping all the terrible things. I just looked up at my Airbnb and realized there's this really cool wall of dogs in watercolors. So I'm going to take a picture of some of them so you can see. Actually, they're pretty cool. Most of the art is kind of meh, but this stuff is actually kind of neat. You can see the owner is putting in their personality. So here, I'm going to send it. Check out this. And over here, there's a whole wall of these things. And I'll send a couple close-ups. Maybe you'll find them inspiring, Sandra. This one's kind of neat. Yeah. I was basically born, I was raised in Seattle. I went to high school. I went to Garfield High School.
Oh.
Then I went away and spent a few years working as in college on the East Coast and working as a journalist on the East Coast. And then I came back to Seattle in my mid-20s and worked for a newspaper that's now defunct,
Oh, what's that?
the Kent Valley Daily News. So it was in
Oh.
Kent, it was South King County. And then I was offered believe it or not, I was offered a column with the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, which is one of the two, when this place was a 2 newspaper town. And then the PI staff went on strike and I went out with them, and my contract was one that it expired. So they did not bring me back afterwards. And then that paper I think it's still existing online. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's like nothing. It's like a shadow of its former self. And that was kind of the moment that I decided I think it occurred to me that maybe I didn't want to be a journalist anymore. So I went to Asia, spent 5 years living in Asia, worked as a journalist out there, went to Mongolia for a year, had my mind blown open, and then came back to Seattle in my 30s and started painting. So I have this kind of and then I left again and went to Europe and then came to Portland and went to New York and then Portland and then stopped.
And Leah, why did you not want to be a journalist anymore?
I just felt, it's funny, I never didn't want it.
Wanted
I
to be an
never,
artist more.
well, it's funny. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. It wasn't that I didn't want to be a journalist, because for many years I kind of did both. I tried to do both. I loved being a journalist, but I felt there was something more. And when I started to learn to draw and paint in my early 30s, that's when it came to me that this is what I wanted to do. And you'll observe that as we were starting at the beginning of this conversation, without me really thinking about what that meant, I was like, all right, I'm just going to switch my career over to being without really thinking that would be. I was like, I'm just going to switch it. So, but I always kind of knew I loved journalism, but there was a side of me that knew I needed something a little different. But I loved it, and I still love it. Right? I think it's I think it's such an exciting career, and I think you can have such big impacts. And I think it's so hugely important and really creative in a different way, that drawing and painting is. So I've always really kind of flirted around the edges of it. But yeah, I just felt I had to do, I felt it. I just felt it. That's the only thing I can say. When I was 30, I had this fellowship to teach journalism in Mongolia, and I had been working with Time magazine as a sort of writer-reporter for them for several years in Hong Kong. And I remember, Time is this kind of big institution, maybe a little Reuters where you can move, or once you kind of get in, you can move around a lot. They'll kind of find places for you. Oh, that looks great, Osiris. I remember I got a fellowship to teach in Mongolia. I did that for a year. I came back and I visited all my friends, including one of the top writers in the Asia edition, who decided that I was his person to foster. And I remember him saying to me, well, we met and he was like, well, do you want me to set you up with something in New York? Do you want me to set you up with something in blah, blah, blah? Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to China? You need to learn a language if you're going to go anywhere else besides Hong Kong, and you need to go, and I just looked at him and said, I don't think I want to do this. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know, but it's not this. So I know that was before I started to draw and paint. So I knew that I was kind of walking away from a very stable career as a journalist. I knew that if I wanted to, I could continue on, and I knew that I didn't want to do that. But I can't really say why. It was just a gut hit. I have to say I'm really glad I did. 20 years later, it's really easy to say, or 25 years later, it's really easy to say that.
Where were you born, Leah?
I was born in Michigan. My dad was in grad school.
Is that where you grew up?
No, I grew up in Seattle. We moved to Seattle when I was 1. So I grew up in Seattle.
Oh, okay.
Seattle, born and raised. Yes, I never went anywhere really until I left, till I graduated from high school. And then I never stopped moving until I got to Portland 10 or 11 years ago. And if I never have to move again, I'll be really happy.
Oh, Sunny,
Okay.
you're gonna start being noisy again.
Yeah, can you help me with the, sorry, I didn't say it.
Yeah.
The eye that you can't see very well. And I feel like it looks like he's missing an eye or something.
You just need to get darker.
Okay.
Here, right? It's just a dark medium shape. There's kind of, if you can see it, there's this little V here, or maybe a W. So here is the 5, and here is the 4. I'm going to send it over so you can really see it. I know a lot of this is because you guys can't see it, but this is looking
Oh,
wonderful.
Sandra.
Sandra, I think this is great. You found it.
Well, yeah,
You
I'm
mixed
I'm
in
doing
a
the
little bit
place.
blue. You got a little bit of
In a
it.
blue. I love it.
What did you say about the blue?
You mixed in a little bit of blue.
No, I know. I started off with blue, and then I decided to switch to gouache. I did the drawing in watercolor in what is it called, that thing, indigo.
In indigo.
Then-
Okay.
But then decided that really there's too much water in watercolor, that it slides on the film. So I switched to gouache to do the fur and
Good.
everything.
Looks
And
good.
it's okay. It's I mean, I don't know, but it's as enjoyable as paper, but
Sunny.
looking like a dog.
I think actually there's a nice fluidity. It seems to encourage a fluidity in your mark making, which I like. You might but not be feeling as like versed. You're like, well, I'm not feeling your struggle. I'm just seeing your results. Right. So I
Right.
want to just credit you for that. The fact that it's not like super easy, you're still finding your way. But I immediately like what this does with your mark making. I think it gives you some beautiful mark making opportunities. And I like how you're taking them. Sandra, honestly, did you really start watercolor this year or was it last year?
I started out January last year.
2021. This is
So end of
really,
January last year.
so you're about a year and a half in, almost a year and a quarter, year and a third, whatever, a little bit more than a year. I just want you to imagine, I love how inventive this is for you. I love how inventive this medium is for you. You are like, you have
Watercolor, you mean, as opposed to this strange film?
watercolor and also, well, all of it. I mean, all of it, this strange thing that you're using. You've just gotten really bold in your education, and it's exciting to see it. I bet you're a good student. I bet your Korean teacher and your whatever else you're learning right now. I know you're learning like 5 other things, but I love working.
Yeah, I also find it fascinating because like 2 years ago, Sandra, you did
Right.
not want to experiment.
Nope. You're amazing. It's
And
amazing.
now-
I've been experimenting a lot since.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, you have completely evolved as an artist. It's exciting to watch. It's just really cool. You inspire me.
Well, thank
I
you.
will
You
say.
inspire me.
Well, that's what we do here. You guys all inspire me with your process and the way you ask your questions and the way you approach your learning. The reasons that you do this, I really appreciate that everybody just keeps coming back. It is a funny class, Nancy, because it never really ends. It just is kind of a continuing, it's kind of a continuing.
And it's fun to be part of everybody's journey.
Mhm.
Yes. I
That's
think,
all there is, right? I mean, that's all we know. So that's all we know. All we know is
Everybody
the
has
journey.
evolved really well.
Yeah, and we continue. And we love having people join us. It's not like you have to be with us the whole time. But the idea is to kind of set up a dynamic where I'm always, so it's interesting. At some point, if you all stay together, I try to always have a beginning drawing class. I always try to have a beginning painting class. I always try to have a watercolor class of some kind or mixed media class of some kind going. But when it's offered might shift. So as you guys evolve, maybe if you're all still together in a year, we'll go to portraiture or figure drawing. Maybe we'll turn this into a painting class. It just depends. So that the kind of idea is we let the days, there's classes 6 days a week, and I let the kind of, I let the class define it. I guess otherwise then it would just be insane. I mean, right, if there's no end at all, there's got to be something.
I have to say, Leah, I love the fact that you don't take offense when I do another subject or another medium, and that you're willing to give guidance, and I really like that.
I want you to do, I would never be offended. I'm trying to make this as like, oh, Marcy, how gorgeous. There's such a softness here. So Marcy, just do a little bit of reshaping. Just pay attention to this nose. I'm going to take a picture of it upside down and send it to you.
Okay.
But I love the mark making here. Here's the nose.
Okay.
Here is the nose as I've drawn it close up, just so you can see it.
Will do.
Yeah, but this is beautiful. I feel like this is a breakthrough
Yeah,
drawing
thank
for you, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. Yeah, I just kind of got less specific and went for the kind of the concept of it. So thank you.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? How much our brain gets in the way of our doing the work.
Yeah.
It's the brain that's really the problem. It's not the actual thing that you have to do. You just have to get your mind around the idea that this is how we're going to do it. If you've ever, I taught journalism. So Geraldine, it sort of further answer your question. After I became an artist, I still did journalism jobs. And one of the things I did was I taught journalism at an elementary school for 5 years in my 30s. Every kid had to write for a school paper. And so I was around kindergarten through 5th graders I was just around them all the time. And I watched them learn. I watched all those kids learn to write, learn to read. Because I was around for 5 years, the kindergartners that started came up and became my 5th graders, right? Where we were really taking them into journalism. So you see how hard it is for them to do all this stuff, right? It's hard to I would watch the kindergartners just struggle with this. Some could hold the pencil and some really couldn't. And some would get frustrated and some were just all over the place, it was just this process of learning. It's a full, it takes a lot of brain power and a lot of repeats and a lot of practice to get any of this kind of thing done. So I could watch it happen. And it was really interesting to see how those kids were, how they learned. They, by the way, became great little reporters. And the reason that I was hired was their writing test scores were really terrible. And the writing test scores at the school went from 40% passing to 90. They all really learned how to write. Their teachers learned more about teaching it. They learned how to write. So it was a really exciting program. It worked, but it was fun just to watch them. And it teaches me a lot about where we are, what we expect of ourselves, what we've forgotten, in terms of that process. I think kids are a little bit less, they're more prone to experiment. Some are really anxious and stressed out and want to be the best, they want to be good, but others, there's also a kind of playfulness with them that adults kind of lose. And that was really instructional to watch. As I was becoming a painter, I could really relate to them a lot. Particularly the kids who cried. I cried a lot because I was so frustrated all the time. There would be the kids who cried because they couldn't, get their letters exactly right or whatever. It was fascinating.
Yeah, I'm sending you pretty much. I think it's pretty much the end of it. I mean, I don't know what I can do. Let's find the Saturday.
Yeah.
It's disappeared. Okay, here we go.
think.
Oh, Sandra, it's spectacular. I don't say that lightly. It's
Oops,
spectacular.
I see something. Well, it's pretty good because it's very tricky, that thing.
Oh, you got it. It's wonderful. You did good. This is great.
Nice
Yes,
job.
I could have wiped it off and given back to Amazon, but I'll keep it, I think. And you know, the beauty is I'm not really, is that because it's completely transparent, you don't have to do a background. You can set it like on a blue background, or, you know, right now,
Why people like using it
let me
as a
show you.
drafting tool.
I'm working on, can you?
Yeah, hold on a second. I'm just getting my computer plugged in and then I will spotlight you.
It looks like I've done nothing.
So right now I'm working on like this, but you know, in fact, it's completely transparent.
Hold on. Gotcha. Oh yeah, look at that. That's so cool.
So I could put like a different color background.
Right, if you wanted to. And I think that's why this has such a great drafting tool, because you can kind of see how things look with different stuff in the back. That's like how people used to correct when you were working on these complex
It
drawings.
means you don't have to do a background, really.
Right? You can
And you
change
can
it
paint
up.
the back with it if you like as well.
I think you found a new thing. Oh, Geraldine,
I don't know.
spectacular. Look at these. You guys, these are amazing. I love them. I love them. Oh, spectacular. Geraldine, are you using charcoal? I really like that.
I'm using a pencil because I didn't get the paper that I needed.
Right.
I've got the charcoal, but I haven't had time.
Wonderful.
But
You're gonna love charcoal because I'm looking at how you're using your darks, and this is great. Diana, that dog is coming out fantastic. And so is your sister. I love this painting. Jackie, yeah. Oh my God. All right. I want you guys to hold up. I'm going to remove the spotlight because if you can believe it or not, we're actually at the end of time. I can't believe it myself. But I'm going to put yourself in gallery view so you can see everybody. Hold up your drawing wherever it's at. You can keep working on it, but hold it up. Oh, wow. These are amazing. Here, I'm going to take a picture. Hold on. This is too great. Julia, can you hold yours up even though it's not the doggy? I want to see it. Hold on. Keep your, I know. Getting my camera.
Oh, wow, Julia, that's great.
Oh my, dang it. There's a dang reflection. I'm trying to get this. There we go. You guys, these are incredible. These are really incredible. Feel really proud of yourself. And notice they don't all look the same, right? That's not our goal here. Our goal is not to make everything look the same, but our goal is to give the subject the respect it deserves, which is to get the pieces in the right places, right? To actually see this subject as it is presenting. And after that, there's so much room to do it differently. And notice how little angle changes will change emotional content. Notice how they will change. You can create a sort of sadness or a curiosity or you can actually change the emotional content with very little shifts. So
yeah, so grateful you do this. Thank you so much.
Oh my God, we're so grateful you've joined us. It's really great. You'll be happy for the rest of your life, I promise you. There's no end to it. There's really no end to it. Julia, are you at resting state in your ring? Has that happened?
Shit.
She's like,
I feel like I am. It won't come up until a little bit later, but yeah.
It feels like resting state. It's always the same. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week. Join us for Procreate tomorrow. If you can't do Procreate, you're welcome to jump into, of course, to my regular Sunday painting studio class. And we'll see everybody next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys. Great work today. Great work.
Thank you.
Yes.